to lose one's colours. So to prevent that from happening, the Colours Party was formed. Their job was to protect the flags whenever they were brought into battle. The Colours role has since evolved to embody each institution's history, honour and tradition. And having the honour of leading the Colours Party this year is Colours Regimental Sergeant Major, First Warrant Officer Lim Lee Kiat. Also set to feature in today's parade and ceremony are soldiers from the 24th Battalion Singapore Artillery at Merlion Park. They'll be firing this year's gun salute. The Guard of Honour contingents are proudly formed by the Army, the Navy, the Air Force and the Singapore Police Force. Looking now at all 38 contingents this year forming up and getting ready to salute Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong.
Nolan, Nomatan, Hadalam, Kawalan Kehormatan, Bandar ke hadapan, dan Kawalan Kehormatan, hormat panji-panji, hormat senjata. Wes, rusuk, senjata.
The parade commander this evening is Lieutenant Colonel Alvin Chu Weng Kwai, Commander Operations Group, Headquarters Naval Diving Unit. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise as the parade pays its compliment to our Prime Minister, Mr. Lee Hsien Loong.
Rise, steady, yeah. Infantry, forward, senjata. Base, rusuk, senjata.
Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong will now take his seat.
In his National Day message, the Prime Minister acknowledged that global uncertainties abound, but, and this is timely as we mark our bicentennial, the way Singapore has navigated ups and downs throughout its history means it can weather any storm. In his words, it's the ingenuity of our people and the boldness of our spirit that is key.
Next up, the combined drum band, together with the youth from APSN Tanglin School, will execute an exciting performance.
Taking center stage is the 24-strong combined drum band, which makes its debut at this year's NDP. Among them, members of the Singapore Armed Forces Band and the National Cadet Corps Band. It also comprises 8 drummers aged 13 to 16 from the Association of Persons with Special Needs, or APSN, Tanglin School, and that's a social service organization to meet the needs of those with mild intellectual disabilities. They've been practicing a long time for this, holding more than a dozen sessions at Nee Soon Camp and the Padang. The piece you're listening to is specially written for this year's NDP. It was crafted by military expert 2 Hazizi Jafar, who has a passion for working with youth. The piece starts off with a simple samba motif, but gradually escalates with layered drum lines and complex movements.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise to welcome Her Excellency, President Halimah Yacob.
President Halimah Yacob arriving for her second NDP as head of state. She is the country's 8th president. And the president is being welcomed by a man who is also here in this capacity for the second time, Lieutenant General Melvin Ong, Chief of Defence Force of the SAF.
First, Hubert, President. Hubert, Stop.
Ladies and gentlemen, now look up to the sky above the stage. 5 F-15 SG Eagles from the Republic of Singapore Air Force, led by Lieutenant Colonel Sherwin Goh, will execute a bomb burst in a salute to the nation. And here's a
Madam President, the parade is formed up and ready for your inspection, ma'am.
There's the 21-gun salute, the highest honor that can be conferred. It's normally reserved for the head of state. And what you're hearing are the booms from the firing of blanks from 4 ceremonial 25-pounder howitzers located off Merlion Park. The guns are operated by members of the 24th Battalion Singapore Artillery, and each of the 4 howitzers on board that raft requires 6 men to operate. Representing the Army in this year's Guard of Honor are men from the 1st Commando Battalion. They earned the honor after winning their 16th consecutive Best Combat Unit Award. The famous Red Berets underlining their sterling reputation in front of Singapore. Next up, the Republic of Singapore Navy, represented by members of the Naval Diving Unit. You're looking at men who've beaten the odds to be where they are. Out of every 450 men who are called up to serve, less than 100 become full-fledged divers. Coming up now are the men and women from the Air Power Generation Command as part of the Republic of Singapore Air Force. These are the personnel in charge of deploying the full might of Singapore's air power, manning the country's 4 air bases. To help the Air Force fulfill its mission, these men and women take on responsibilities that range from maintaining aircraft and bases to providing logistical support. Finally, the men and women from Training Command of the Singapore Police Force. TRACOM, as it's known, trains and develops not just the core and professional competencies of police officers, but also instills ethics and values. And it's arguably more important than ever as the police force gears up to face technological disruption and evolving threats. The crowd giving a rousing reception for President Halima, whom it seems is equally happy to engage and reach out. Remember, she's not just head of state, but as her activities have shown, a member of our community as well, championing the less privileged, the disadvantaged, the vulnerable segments of our society. Just last week, Madam Halima announced the focus of next year's President's Challenge, an annual fundraising event for charities. She said she wants to focus on empowering people with disabilities, and that could come in the form of employment, which she hopes would give them a sense of self-confidence, self-esteem, and well-being. At the root of it all, it's really about fostering their sense of belonging in a society that they can truly call their own. But it's not all one-way traffic. Perhaps it's a reminder that all of us can look out for each other and be a united people, even as we move forward as a nation. And what better time for such a reminder than as we celebrate everything that makes us Singapore.
The Guard of Honor will now execute the Feu de Joie, or Fire of Joy, to celebrate our nation's birthday.
Kawalan kehormatan akan tembak Feu de Joie. Isikan Brum. Hormat. Tembak. Isikan lagi. Hormat. Tembak. Isikan lagi. Hormat. Tembak. Kawalan kehormatan datang senjata. Kawalan kehormatan rusuk senjata. Madam President, may I have your permission to proceed and thereafter march off the parade, ma'am?
President Halima Yaakob will now take her seat.
Remember, it's not just Singapore marking a milestone, so is the Istana, which commemorates 150 years. Just last month, President Halima launched what are called Istana cookies, containing ingredients found on the Istana grounds. The design on those packets was drawn by special needs students, another example of how the President is working to foster an inclusive society.
Ladies and gentlemen, as a tribute to the nation's 54th birthday, the RSAF has put together a special aerial display. Watch as the men and women of the RSAF prepare their magnificent flying machines for this year's aerial display. First up, flying in from your right in a Vic formation is the RSAF's newly acquired A330 multi-role tanker transport aircraft, escorted by two F-15 SG Eagles. Up next, from your front, two of our state-of-the-art multi-role F-15 SG Eagles will perform a challenging aerial display, showcasing precision and team excellence. Get ready to witness this breathtaking shackle maneuver as they cross each other at close range. Presenting the shackle. Center from the right, a solo F-15 SG Eagle will perform a high-G combat turn with full afterburners. The F-15 SG Eagle will round off the RSAF's aerial display with a vertical climb, signifying progress and prosperity for our nation. Above all, our home, our Singapore!
Akan berjalan keluar dalam masa cepat. Kawalan kombatan dahulu, kawalan kombatan ke kanan, yang lain ke kiri dan ke kanan. Bow! Cek!
And just as they let the Guard of Honor contingents in, the Colours Party will lead the parade in this march past. By being part of the party, these men are actually part of a long tradition that dates back to the early 17th century. Today, the colours remain symbols in modern armed forces to promote cohesion, esprit de corps, and instill a sense of pride and loyalty in the unit. The Colours Party is now forming up for the traditional march past together with the 4 Guard of Honor contingents. Set to march behind the Colours Party are the 6 contingents from the SAF and home team, 10 contingents from the uniformed groups, 16 socio-economic organizations, and the combined band. Together, the contingents represent the country's commitment to the 6 pillars of total defense: military, civil, social, economic, digital, and psychological defense. Colours are awarded for achievements in the fields of combat, training, administration, efficiency, and service to the community. And leading the march past is the parade commander, Lieutenant Colonel Alvin Chu Weng Kwai. Definitely a proud moment for the man and his family. Following behind is the parade regimental Sergeant Major Master Warrant Officer Chong Wee Kiong Shon, accompanied by the 3 state colours. Colours Regimental Sergeant Major 1st Warrant Officer Lim Lee Kiet commands the 35 Regimental Colours. The Army Guard of Honour contingent is next. It's formed by men from the 1st Commando Battalion and is led by Major Benson Chow Wen Lie. We turn our attention now to the Navy Guard of Honour contingent, formed by men from the Naval Diving Unit. This contingent is led by Major James Ong Chong Yu. We now see the Republic of Singapore Air Force contingent, comprising personnel from the Air Power Generation Command. This Guard of Honour contingent is led by Major Dina Kumar. Finally, Superintendent of Police Wilbur Sim leads the Singapore Police Force Guard of Honour contingent. It's made up of men and women from the Police Training Command of the Singapore Police Force. Now marching past are the uniformed services from the SAF and home team. Military Expert 4 Kenneth Neo Chun Peng leads the way for the Republic of Singapore Navy contingent, while Captain Lim Lee Chuen Amanda is at the forefront of the Singapore Army contingent. Next, the Singapore Police Force contingent, led by Assistant Superintendent of Police Teo Kim Ying, and the Republic of Singapore Air Force contingent, led by Military Expert 4 Chua Hao Che. SAF VC SV2 Neo Li Fang leads the SAF and home team volunteer contingent, which is making its debut at NDP, while Captain Chia Wai Kit keeps pace with the Singapore Civil Defence Force contingent. Cadet Inspector Ng Ching Xuan leads the National Police Cadet Corps, and next to him, Cadet Lieutenant Andrew Yap Tzu Jian leads the National Cadet Corps Land. The Girls Brigade Singapore is led by 1st Warrant Officer To Yi Ling, and young adult Lua Jia Hui does likewise for Girl Guide Singapore. The Singapore Scout Association is led by Rover Scout Faith Ong, and the Boys Brigade is led by Senior Cadet Lieutenant Hu Chuan Yang Joel. The next 2 contingents are the Singapore Red Cross, led by Volunteer Officer Heather Low, and the National Cadet Corps Air and Sea, led by Cadet Captain Irian Shazrian. Finally, we have St. John Brigade Singapore, led by Corps Staff Officer Grade 5 Yo Kai Wen, and the National Civil Defence Cadet Corps, led by the Senior Cadet Lieutenant Muhammad Hilmi Muhammad Fadzil. Our social and economic groups are up next. First out the blocks is the PAP-PCF contingent, led by Mr. Saktiandi Supat, and Ms. K. Thanalechmi leads out NTUC, which celebrates 50 years since adopting a stance of cooperation. Ms. Wong Wen Hui Linus leads the way for Keppel Corp, while Mr. Zhi Wei Meng heads the Semcorp Marine contingent. Singapore's National Water Agency PUB is led by Mr. Chin Wei Jie Edwin, and Singtel has Mr. Ko Chung Tik Terry at the front. Close behind are Dr. Goh Jia Hai and the rest of the People's Association Youth Movement, and OSIM International, led by Miss Christina Chong. Ms. Ng Wen Ya fronts Wan Changi, while Mr. Kurt Wee leads the Association of Small and Medium Enterprises. Kofu Group is led by Mr. Chu Tek Chuan, and One Team Singapore follows, together with Miss Adeline Tae Yok Kun. PSA International, led by Miss Wong Kai Ling, followed by National Healthcare Group, led by Dr. Sim Chin Sing Evan. And the final two socio-economic contingents are Nanyang Polytechnic, led by Mr. Wong Po Sing, and Lee Ho Ti, led by Miss Chu Yok Lee Janice. The marching music for the parade and ceremony is provided by the combined band, made up of members of the SAF Band, the SPF Band, Singapore NCC Command Band, and the NPCC Band. The combined band is led by Band Conductor Military Expert 5 Stephen Tan Ait Ki, and Drum Major Military Expert 1 Josh Chua King Hui.
When the British announced that they were pulling out in 1967, Singaporeans were anxious and unprepared. Dr. Goh Keng Swee knew that we had to quickly build up the SAF in order to defend ourselves. The preparation and training was very tough, but we wanted to make it work. At the end, when we drove the 18 tanks down Padang, we heard the crowd cheering, and there was a huge sense of achievement, and gave everyone the confidence that the SAF was ready. each year I could see new equipment within the SAF. But the one thing that did not change is the commitment and fighting spirit of our people. And this is our strength in defending Singapore.
Leading the pack is Singapore's main battle tank, the Leopard 2 SG, together with the Mobile Column Commander Colonel NS Chin Chi Wai and Brigadier General retired Colin Teixeira, one of the participants of the first Mobile Column in 1969. The Leopard 2 SG is fast, lethal and very well armoured, and that's why it's considered one of the finest in the world. And just in case your screens skew your perspective, these mean machines are incredibly intimidating when you see them up close. Each of them is about 3 meters tall and weighs in at 55 tons. Close behind is the Hunter, newly commissioned this year. It's the Army's first fully digitalized armored fighting vehicle. Its operators have a 360-degree view and can even control the Hunter's weapon system remotely. The Bionics is next up, and it's an armored fighting vehicle that dominates the front line with its remarkable mobility and firepower. It also comes with heightened safety features like rear view cameras. And how about this for an all-terrain tracked carrier? The versatile Bronco can maneuver in different types of terrain. And here comes the Terex infantry carrier vehicle. This homegrown vehicle can accommodate up to 12 troops, ensuring that our infantry can move swiftly and safely across the battlefield. Looking at the Belrex Protected Combat Support Vehicle, which protects our soldiers with its superior firepower. And don't be deceived by the size of the Light Strike Vehicle Mark II. It looks nifty, but it still packs quite the punch with its anti-tank missiles and grenade launchers. Serving the battlefield are our unmanned aerial vehicles. These can collect critical information while keeping our troops out of harm's way. Here's the artillery formation's HIMARS system, firing its GPS-guided rockets up to 70 kilometers away. Surprisingly nimble as well, reaching speeds of nearly 100 kilometers per hour. The Safari weapon locating radar detects rocket fire against us with its early warning technology. It's one of the latest and finest pieces in the artillery. Nothing stands in the way of the Combat Engineer's L2 armored engineer vehicle, which effortlessly clears physical obstacles for troops. And you've already seen this from earlier, the M3G float bridges, which enabled our artillery to fire a 21-gun salute in the Marina Bay. In fact, it can carry up to 3 5-tonner trucks. The mobility support system is a new addition to the Combat Engineers. That rolled-up platform helps our tracked and wheeled vehicles over soft ground. Meanwhile, the Signals Formation's VSAT subscriber detachment helps the Army's different units communicate during joint operations. Here's another new addition to our arsenal. The wheeled recovery vehicle can secure and recover all wheeled vehicles used by the Army thanks to its recovery capacity of 35 tons. Making its NDP debut, the Aster 30 air defense system, which can engage multiple air threats simultaneously. The system is also incredibly lean, requiring just 3 people to man. That's the MP Star and the Spider, an armed advanced missile.
Over the years, the SAF and Home Team have contributed to global peace and security through peace support, counter-piracy, humanitarian assistance, and disaster relief operations. Our brave men and women in uniform have flown our Singapore flag high, going above and beyond to make Singapore proud. They have made a real difference in people's lives and have earned the recognition of our international partners. Without hesitation, they have answered the call of duty at short notice, serving in foreign lands and seas in harsh conditions, far away from home and loved ones. This is our strength in action.
Now, this hardware, not just for show, they're more than capable of making a difference in the field. And here are yet more examples. The specialized marine craft are some of the smallest vessels in our Singapore Navy, yet these interceptors are built for speed. Twin engines at their rear churn out some 5,000 horses together. And helping fight terror is the combatant craft medium, deploying our divers for special ops at short notice. This nifty boat can carry up to 15 troops, and it zips along at speeds of up to 40 knots. The Protector unmanned surface vessel looks like just another inflatable boat, but its remotely controlled navigation and weapons suite means it's more than capable of patrolling piracy hotspots like the Gulf of Aden. Next, the Scan Eagle UAV is capable of locking in on enemy targets far over the horizon. They paint a target for our frigate's Harpoon missiles over vast distances, even as we strike concurrently in the air with the Aster and underwater with our submarines' torpedoes. These weapons come in a variety of sizes, but each carries with it devastating effects. RSCF is also big on disaster relief. The Army's water purification units have been deployed to flood-hit regions, turning unpotable water into clean drinking water. The SCDF's DART Urban Search and Rescue Vehicle takes our personnel to the disaster scene. The men here are highly skilled in multiple types of search and rescue operations and firefighting. Rounding the column up so far is Mobile Column Sergeant Major Master Warrant Officer Neo Boon Kui.
Against an uncertain global landscape, the threats we face are becoming more complex. They can strike unexpectedly, threatening our loved ones and our way of life. Over the years, the SAF and Home Team have strengthened their integration to enhance readiness and provide joint security responses in the air, land and sea. National agencies and individual Singaporeans have also played their part in building Singapore's ability to overcome any emergency. Whatever challenges lie ahead, we can be assured that the SCF and Home Team stand ready to respond to any security threat, and that Singaporeans will rally together towards securing our Singapore.
But keeping Singapore safe and secure at home is also a big task. Appearing in formation are our bikes from the SAF and Home Team. Among them in black are our rapid deployment troops, the first respondents when terror strikes. Next, the Peacekeeper protected response vehicles, which help defend urban installations. They're hardy and flexible, providing the perfect shell for troops. Here come the vehicles from our CBRE engineers, capable of neutralizing any bomb threat. And in the event of a public security incident, these fast response and urban emergency response cars can get to the scene swiftly. Responding in serious incidents are our police tactical vehicles, highly versatile and armored to protect our officers. I'm sure you're familiar with the SCDF's Red Rhino, which helps get our firefighters to the scene of the blaze in double quick time. Close behind are the unmanned firefighting machines and a series of robots that are able to detect and fight fire autonomously. Fighting fires and deploying rescues at sea is the all-new Dart amphibious vehicle unveiled only late last year. It transitions from land to water in just 15 seconds. Supporting them are the fire medical vehicles, which can fight fires and provide medical relief at the same time, providing crucial support in emergencies. And capping off this segment is the combined platform ladder 60, which, as the name suggests, extends 60 meters high or as tall as a 20-story building.
National service began in 1967 amidst a period of uncertainty and hardship. The Merdeka generation were the early batches to serve national service and grew up during Singapore's struggle for independence. We salute our Merdeka generation for building national service to become a key national institution. As we move forward, every generation of NS men continues to build on our pioneers' commitment and will to defend our country. Every one of us must play our part in safeguarding our home, our loved ones, and our way of life. As we live the dreams of our pioneers, let us continue to be pioneers of our future. For this is our strength, our Singapore.
And now here's a tribute to our Merdeka generation. 39 individuals from the various services rolling in to a thunderous reception. Soldiers, airmen, policemen, firefighters, even those from the Navy, who all played their part to secure their new home. The crowd here well aware of the sacrifices that these men have made in the early years. And this is the first time that our Merdeka generation is being featured so prominently, collectively at the National Day Parade. What a way to recognize our Merdeka generation, some might say on the grandest national stage of all, the National Day Parade. And if you thought everything went by too quickly, you can catch the column again tomorrow as it heads to the heartland. Some of these vehicles will roll into Bishan, Geylang Serai, Jurong East, Punggol and Woodlands. We now transition to the show segment of the parade, and we're starting at the beginning with Singapore's lifeblood, the Singapore River. And what a perfect time it is to do so as the sun sets and the stage goes dark for what's set to be a visual extravaganza. In the next hour or so, you'll be taken on a journey, the Singapore journey, as told by a veteran of our art scene, the creative director Dick Lee. And he'll have help telling that story with the crowd's LED wristbands, which, as you'll see throughout the show, will come alive in a spectacular sea of colour.
Kami adalah generasi dari orang-orang laut di Singapura.
我老爸是伫1947年对金门历史坐迄阵来新加坡。
My ancestors came from the state of Bihar in northern India.
我公鞍山头搬来新加坡。
Yo sa disabled being di Tan tu Lugar.
My grandfather is a Dane from Denmark.
I'm Singaporean.
I think I'm a Roja.
I'm from Wetlands.
1955 நான் கேரளாவில இருந்து சிங்கப்பூருக்கு வந்தேன்.
That short video shows us how unique we are as Singaporeans. A disparate patchwork of cultures that have been woven into one people over time. And it all started at the Singapore River, which emerged as the center of our island's trade, commerce and finance. It's what Singapore's migrant forefathers first saw as they sought a new and better life on these shores. Here, about 400 members from the People's Association Performance Group are recreating what lay in wait for our pioneers. They each arrived with their distinct practices, cultures, food even, laying the seeds of Singapore's multicultural melting pot.
Just like one word, very grand, extravagant, full of colors. It's just like the whole kampung just come together and it's just like a mini NDP.
Kami bernikah pada 1 September tahun 1932 bertempat di Upper Bunting Road.
Dalam majlis tu, makcik rasa bahagia sangat tengok saudara-saudara makcik semuanya, kaum keluarga jauh-jauh pun datang. Alhamdulillah sampai saat ini makcik rasa bahagia sangat dan itulah hari yang paling bahagia untuk kita berdua.
Many of these pioneers would have been met by the Malay community, whose iconic weddings have become mainstays of Singapore culture. Their grand affairs featuring a kaleidoscopic array of traditional apparel and music. And here they're carrying bunga mangga, a sight closely tied with Malay weddings. These props of tinsel paper traditionally lead the wedding processions and depict the palm blossoms of coconuts which were used in the old days. They symbolize well wishes for the married couple to have many children.
那时候是好像在看武侠片这样，那些狮子跳上跳下这样。
During Chinese New Year, my mother would light the firecrackers. My father would stand behind. In our new pajamas, we would be lighting and playing with firecrackers, and the floor would be all red.
The Chinese were among the first on our shores, bringing with them their colorful New Year festival. The dancers here, decked in gold and red, traditionally associated with luck and wealth in Chinese culture. They also brought Chinese opera to Singapore, synonymous with the brightly painted faces of its performers. And the wayang means theatrical performance in Malay.
Indian folklore encompasses thousands of years of culture, religion, traditional games and the arts. What strikes me most about the rich Indian folklore is its vibrancy.
இந்திய சமுதாயத்தின் கலாச்சாரம் நமக்கு விளக்கிய நூல்களான மகாபாரதம், ராமாயணம், சிலப்பதிகாரம் ஆகியவை சார்ந்துள்ளன. பரதநாட்டியம், கர்நாடக இசை இவை ரெண்டுமே நமது மரபை பேசுகிறது.
The Indian community in Singapore was the second largest here in the 1800s, and they too imported their unique customs from India. The peacock, for example, is central to Indian mythology and Hinduism. The peacock feather is associated with beauty and knowledge, and today is used to attract good luck and prosperity. And here you see movements inspired by the Kathakali, a traditional Indian dance that typically features elaborate costumes and colorful makeup to tell stories from Hindu epics and other folklore.
During Christmas, my grandmother used to make a special dish called fing. It used all the parts of the pig that was not wanted. And it has become my favorite dish because we only ate it at Christmas.
My favorite food is suji cake. Like we eat it at every celebration, birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, and even funerals. My Nana's devil's curry is the most delicious thing I've ever tasted. It's the most unique thing, and no matter how many times I try to make it, it will never taste the same.
Well, as the name suggests, Eurasian cultural practices are derived from both European and Asian influences, and this is represented very well in their food. Take, for instance, devil's curry, which was introduced in the video earlier. It's believed it was concocted as a way to not waste Christmas leftovers. So what you then get is a varied meat stew seasoned with Asian spices like curry leaves and lemongrass. And because many of the early Eurasians here had Portuguese Malaccan ancestry, much of their lingua franca, Kristang at the time, had elements of both Portuguese and Malay. Needless to say, they also inherited their dance forms from the Portuguese.
To strangers when they arrive on the shores of the Singapore River. People from all walks of life came together, and they bring so much heritage and culture with them. Despite their differences, they managed to find common ground and begin to build a future for themselves and their families. And as they set down roots here, they created a place that we can all call home.
But we only became Singapore when everyone began marching to the same beat. Singapore's story, and by extension society, continues to be a work in progress, but our qualities of multiracialism, religious acceptance and diversity aren't replicated in many other countries. These tenets that have resulted in a social compact that is now synonymous with the name Singapore.
the day the judge announced that I'm going to be sentenced for a long period of years. And I thought that was the end of my life. It's like a death sentence. As it is, my life was really like a toilet bowl. And with a prison conviction, it's not going to get any better. And there was a time that I thought, should I just end my life at this point of time?
During the war, the siren is off. We had to run for our shelter. Wherever we are, the Japanese are very, very scary. If you are done wrong, they cut off your hand, they cut off your head. All of us are very, very scared.
Of course, I was afraid. In 1985, there was no information at all about HIV. How it is spread and how it's not spread. There was a real sense of fear. All the doctors, nurses, and staff were so frightened that nobody would take up the role.
Music has always been my biggest passion. I love rapping. So when I found out last year that I have vocal cord palsy and I will lose my voice, my world just collapsed.
You saw there how fears don't discriminate. Now 600 performers from the Singapore Soca Association will take you into their maze of uncertainty, depicting how fear traps and paralyzes its victims.
You feel it running through your bones, heart racing, rip through your soul. Start pacing, got no control. Hold on, you're not all alone. No, they will never stop me. Oh no. No, they can never do it. No. They can never do it. I am bigger than you thought I could ever be. I am built for this. You thought I could never be. 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 It's time to set it free.
Just survive. Oh, you will see me thrive. Can't write my story.
See the cracks on my knuckles while I conquer the struggle. I'm never gonna stop till my knees start to buckle. Rise from the rubble, stand tall with my own feet. For the line, I will fight.
Oh, you're so little. Victory is in my veins, and I will not negotiate. I will transform.
Transform.
I will transform.
During the war, we had wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning to queue for the food. Sometimes there's no more left. Neighbors will share their food with us, and my aunties and my cousins and all, we make quick cakes to go to the quarters to share the cakes. That's how we survived.
I remember my patient who was crying profusely. He cried and he cried, and his tears filled my shoulder pads. I felt so helpless. I didn't know what to do. I gave him a hug, and he felt so relieved. These hugs I learned from my mom. When I was a child, she comforted me, and now I use it for my patients.
There was total silence from my family because I knew that they didn't want to have anything to do with me. And then there was this officer. I was sitting down with him and he was talking to me, and he understood the struggles I was going through. He made arrangements for an open visit where I could actually meet my family, my daughter especially. I remember that Monday morning, I could hold her hand and just say, "Will you forgive me?" And that brought reconciliation to their family. And it carried me through all these years, even to now.
I told him he has two things, willpower and willpower, hence Will Smith. He also once told me his story about his great-grandmother, remember? Yeah. She got 13 kids, raised all by herself, and she didn't give up. So, why should I? He also said to me, every breath we take is a bonus.
Give up, that's my life motto. Through the obstacles, this life that I steer, moving from the past, and now I'm right here. Clouds go by, sometimes it rains. Think about the future when it comes to change. Not past, ever last, never stop climbing. No matter what's in front, don't you ever stop trying. Life is a constant race without a finish line. Dreams that I would chase forever in my mind. Sometimes you win, sometimes you feel like all is lost, and no one's there to hear your thoughts just come across. Stars never stop to shine, it's in your blood. To never slow down when life gets rough. Even if you fall, know you gotta stand tall. Push comes to shove, you gotta give your all. Give your all. Victory is in my face. Stand tall. Give your all.
Today, we are very fortunate. There's no more war, and Singapore is very peaceful. There is enough food to go around. We no longer have to starve, but we should not take it for granted. Till today, I continue to cook and share my food with everyone.
It didn't happen overnight. I had to work long hours and to re-establish this trust that I had broken. The groups of people that I've been impacting, ex-convicts, some even serving prison sentence, single moms, physically disabled people, I don't see their disability, but I see their ability. And the officer that helped me during those difficult times, today we are good friends, and he's one of those that is actually working with me together.
When I first started doing this, I was on my own. Over the years, my team grew, and I also started these HIV support groups because the HIV patients can help each other, so can their family members. That's the reason why I'm still here. The virus does not discriminate, but humans do. It's important the whole community helps out because no one should be left behind.
For me, I will always want to move forward, to be the voice for the community. If the situation is bad, it gives you a chance to make it better, to be great, to fill up that gap, to prove that You can do it.
Nobody said it was easy. My pain was really promised. I gotta be really honest with the things that I just witnessed. I see the strength, I see the pain. I feel the fight, just let it rain. I feel the soul, I see the goal. I let it down, let it unfold. So don't you ever give in. See how far that you've come. Stand as one and part out. Feel the beat of the drums. Stand up and sing, stand up. Stand up and sing, stand up.
Singapore, stand up with me right now. Rise up as one.
Stand up and sing, stand up.
NDP 2019, let me hear you sing along with us, let's go!
Do the best you can. Reach out for your fellow man. You gotta make a stand. Recognize you can play your part. Let it come right from your heart. Be prepared to give a little more.
Everybody wave!
Singapore, do it with a smile. Stand up for Singapore, we'll find it all worthwhile. Believe in yourself, you got something to share. Show us all you really care. Be prepared to give a little more. Stand up for
Therefore, in thinking about the future, he knows that the dangers faces are real.
If we lack the guts and the gumption to stand up for ourselves, then I say, write it off. Forget it.
What was it after the war, fight for independence came, it dawned upon me that, yes, why not? We could rule our own country.
Only we may find it worthwhile to fight and die for our country, for our country, for our country, for our country, so that all of us can concentrate our energies and resources to the building up.
Houses, enough for the people. Food, enough for the people. Factories, out of the crop. You can do almost anything.
I say it is through a series of stresses and strains that forges a nation out of a group of loosely linked people.
Now that we know we can overcome what's holding us back from dreaming. After all, our pioneers' dreams are already being realized in all of us today. Maybe it's our turn to set the stage as pioneers of the future.
Life was tough during the 60s.
Nearly 900 primary and secondary school students are getting that message across, and if you're getting a major futuristic vibe from them, well, that's the intention, showing how Singapore's gearing up for an exciting future.
My childhood memories is going to the toilet. At that time, there was a bucket system.
In the kampong, and we'll get together on open spaces and kick about.
Yeah, my father, he's like in kampong, he's like head
tua kampung lah.
I mean, drinks in the canteen would like cost 5 cents and noodles like 15 cents.
You're listening to the voices of real-life Singaporeans across the generations, and the idea is to show the major leaps that Singapore has made from a developing country to the thriving metropolis that we are today. And on that note, see if you can pick out the icons that have become instantly identifiable with our Singapore. You could say this skyline is a manifestation of our founders' dreams of a prosperous nation.
I say I love Singapore. It's because of everything. The food, the places, the environment. Singapore too. Because I mean, when I was a kid, my mom would always bring me there, and you feel.
If you're looking at this forming and thinking Changi Airport, well, you're absolutely right. It's always been a symbol of pride for Singaporeans. But as its continuous improvement shows, it's not good enough to rest on our laurels. It's about constantly innovating and breaking frontiers.
When I was a teenager, writing songs, I wish there was a single...
What a shot of the National Gallery there, formerly the old City Hall, juxtaposing the scene of our historic milestones with the possibilities that lay in store.
Clearly show that I am Singaporean and Singapore has made me who I am today. Become more technologically advanced, cause more environmentally. I can become an engineer. I can build houses like for just people who could not afford.
And nothing quite exemplifies that philosophy of constant and consistent growth than the super tree, another more recent icon of Singapore's skyline. But it doesn't just represent growth and change, it also reminds us to stay rooted in the values unique to us as Singaporeans. Well, if you've been amazed at the light and laser show just like me, well, here's a quick factoid. Some of the flashing lights actually come from wristbands included in this year's fun pack, and they're remotely controlled by the show organizers with infrared technology in tandem with the choreography. If you find the devices familiar, well, you're right, you've actually seen them before. The technology was featured at the National Day Parade in 2016 to amazing effect.
Cause tomorrow's here to take a dream.
And what better way to usher in tomorrow than with the indomitable spirit of a lion? This giant reminder of our pride and confidence in Singapore's future is 6 meters tall and 8 meters long. A truly majestic sight to behold, even as 900 school children show us the energy and effort that are crucial for big dreams to become reality.
We'll do our part, stand together, heart to heart. We're going to show the world what Singapore can be. We can achieve, we can achieve. Come on, Singapore, now's the time! Sing along with me!
For we are never done building Singapore. It's every generation's duty to keep on building for our children and for our future.
My mother has always been a pillar of strength for the people around her.
My dad inspires me to be a better person, to never give up hope for a brighter future. I'm so proud of him. I see his strength more than anything else. When I grow up, I want to be just like him.
These are the stories my grandmother told me, and I'll share with my own children. From generation to generation, this is our story, our home, our Singapore.
Remember the days we sat out together with faith.
Remember the times so fine when we thought nothing could stand in our way.
Then things weren't the same. The life that we knew had to change.
We struggled through the darkest storms we thought we couldn't take.
Oh,
Through many years gone by, we've moved ahead together. We've built a brave new world where we could shine and grow.
oh, and now we only have to look towards tomorrow to carry on the dream as far as it will go. So now we look around us and we see
A nation built with love by you and me.
a land to treasure right down to the core. Our home, our heart, our Singapore.
Our home, our heart, our Singapore.
To my people of the future, we built it for the ones that dream. Hand in hand we'll make our land, our home, the place to be.
From young to old, how stories unfold, moments like these we speak.
Words that last forever, worlds that come together to show that we're all the same. We'll break the chains to make a change.
Burn bright, I will light into the flame.
And amazing as it seems, it all started with a dream.
The dream isn't done, 'cause the best is yet to come.
Deep in my heart, I just know, right from the start, we will grow. Look where we are, we've come so far. There's still a long, long way to go. With all of my heart, I will care. I'll play my part, I will share. With family and friends, together we'll stand. And in the end, hand in hand, we will get there.
Truly, where I know I must be, where my dreams wait for me, where the river always flows. This is home, surely, this my senses tell me. This is where I won't be alone.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise to recite our pledge and sing our national anthem together.
We, the citizens of Singapore, pledge ourselves as one united people, regardless of race, language, or religion, to build a democratic society based on justice and equality, so as to achieve happiness, prosperity, and progress for our nation.
Mari kita rakyat Singapura sama-sama menuju bahagia. Cita-cita kita yang mulia berjaya Singapura. Dengan semangat yang baru, sama kita bersatu. Majulah Singapura, majulah Singapura.
A truly stirring rendition of our national anthem by Ramli Sarab, one of the forefathers of Singapore rock culture. And after an emotional roller coaster, it's time for the party to start in earnest, and I can't think of a better way than to sing along with our favorite National Day tunes, accompanied by the pops and whistles of fireworks lighting up a magnificent skyline. So go ahead wherever you are, at home with family and friends, in the car, overseas even. This is your time to soak it all in, sing it loud and sing it proud.
Madam Halima Yacob, our president, will now take her leave. Please put your hands together to wish her a very good night.
President Halima Yacob taking her leave. What a night it's been for her. And she's about to meet many Singaporeans from all walks of life who have given up their time to celebrate not just the nation, but what it means to be Singaporean. In fact, the President touched on that theme in her National Day message just a couple of days ago. She focused on our similarities instead of differences. Some of these commonalities include a deep love for the nation, wanting to make a better life for ourselves, and a desire to live in a kind society. And we've seen real-life examples from the various characters featured at this National Day Parade. Many of the participants tonight eagerly anticipating a meet and greet with the President. In fact, it's been a tradition for presidents past and present taking the time to personally thank as many performers as possible before calling it a night. And you'll notice as well that the stage is now a microcosm of Singapore, and that diversity is something that President Halima has consistently championed as a trait that should be celebrated. It must be a bittersweet moment for the performers and participants, with all their hard work culminating in this splendid show. Hopefully it's not goodbye to the friendships forged over the months of lost weekends, toil and perspiration. That said, judging by the look on their faces now, well, it's all been worth it. And this is something that's been quite a Singaporean trait as well, isn't it? The Wi-Fi. Many years from now, these kids are going to be digging through social media, and these photos are going to bring back so many memories. The President obliging as many as she can on this momentous night. Taking the time to thank as many performers as possible. And here she is, acknowledging the contributions of Singapore's Merdeka generation. And those souvenirs, those photographs are going to stand the test of time. And all that hard work now at an end, and what a way to cap all those months with a meet and greet with the President. It's not every day that you get one of those. But I believe the President is about to call it a night. And you can already see the celebrations beginning on the Padang stage. These performers letting their hair down. I can only imagine how it must feel like this National Day Parade. And she's still shaking hands, the President. What a way to cap the president's second NDP as head of state. I'm pretty sure it won't be one she'll be forgetting anytime soon. Good night, Madam President.
You have been amazing tonight, and let's end it the very same way we started, where we say our. Everybody here, you say Singapore. Our. Singapore, what a night it's been. Once again, from all of us here at the Padang, happy birthday, Singapore!
Well, I'm sure you'll agree it's been a riveting evening. We started the celebrations with a statement that this is our Singapore. And over the course of a few hours, we've seen how we've done so and how we continue to do so. In between, we cheered, commemorated, we celebrated, we cast our minds to making the best of our nation. And like we heard before, it's almost a brand new starting point, isn't it? A fresh generation of pioneers to build on Singapore's potential, limited only by our imagination. Some of these aspirations may be daunting, intimidating even, but as a wise person once said, if your dreams don't scare you, well, then they probably aren't big enough. My name is John Leong, and it's been a real pleasure being with you this National Day. Here's wishing Singapore a very, very happy birthday, and I wish you all good night.
Too many